For pretty much all of human history, farming has been the bedrock of civilization. But right now, it's staring down its biggest challenge ever. How in the world are we going to feed a rapidly growing planet when our resources are, finite? Well, the answer isn't just about working harder, it's about working a whole lot smarter. We are right on the edge of a massive technological revolution that's changing everything about the oldest job on Earth, turning simple fields into these complex, data-driven ecosystems.
So here's what we're going to get into. We'll start with the sheer scale of the challenge that farming is up against. Then we'll look at the data-driven solution and break down the cool tech that makes it all possible. After that, we'll see it in action, check out the rewards, and finally, take a peek at what's next for the future of the field.
All right, let's dive right in. Before we can really get why the solution is so cool, we have to understand the incredible pressure our entire global agricultural system is under. And this isn't some far-off abstract problem. This is one of the biggest challenges of our lifetime. Let's start with just one number, but it is a massive one. By the year 2050, the world's population is expected to hit 9.7 billion people. To try and wrap your head around that, that's like adding the entire current populations of Africa and Europe to the planet. And every single one of them is going to need to eat. Okay, so to feed that many people, the UN figures we're going to need a 70% increase in food production. 70%. Just try to imagine every farm on the planet, starting right now, needing to produce almost 3/4 more food. That is the incredible scale of this challenge. And here's the real kicker. It's not like we can just make more farmland. We have to pull off this huge increase in output using the land we already have. Oh, and we have to do it while using less water, less fertilizer, and cutting our environmental impact. It's a huge puzzle that absolutely demands a smarter way of doing things. So, how do we solve a puzzle like that? Well, you do it by shifting from a kind of brute force approach to one that's all about finesse. This is where we stop farming with blankets and start farming with pixels. For centuries, farming has been a one-size-fits-all game. You've got a field, you treat the whole thing as one big unit. But we all know that's not how fields really work. Precision agriculture just flips that whole idea on its head. It's a site-specific approach that uses data to manage every little part of a field based on its own specific needs.
All right, so here's the official definition. At its heart, precision agriculture is all about seeing the little differences in a field, measuring them with incredible accuracy, and then responding to them, sometimes in real time. The goal is simple, but it's so powerful. Get the absolute most out of every seed, every single drop of water, and every bit of nutrient, all while protecting the environment.
And look, this didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's really the next logical step in a long evolution. Just look at this timeline. We went from animals doing the work in Ag 1.0 to machines in 2.0 to the first GPS systems in 3.0. And now, with Ag 4.0 and 5.0, we are deep into the era of data, AI, and being connected all the time. Okay, so let's pop the hood and look at the actual tech that's making this whole revolution possible. And this isn't some sci-fi movie stuff. This is the real toolkit that farmers are out there using right now to completely change how they operate. It all starts with knowing exactly where you are. GPS is the absolute bedrock of precision ag. But we're not talking about the GPS that's in your car. This is super advanced stuff, like RTK systems, that gives a tractor centimeter-level accuracy. That spatial foundation is what makes everything else work. So once you have that pinpoint accuracy, what can you actually do? Well, a ton. Farmers can make these incredibly detailed maps of their fields. Tractors can literally steer themselves in perfect lines, which gets rid of wasteful overlaps when they're planting or spraying. Every single pass through the field is suddenly way more efficient, saving fuel, seed, fertilizer, you name it. Next up, you've got the eyes in the sky, and that's remote sensing. This is where drones and satellites come into play, giving farmers a bird's-eye view they've never had before. They can see what's happening with their crops across huge areas without even taking a step into the field.
Drones and satellites are kind of like a team. Drones are the specialists. They fly low and capture amazing detail, spotting individual weeds or pests. Satellites give you the big picture, watching over the whole farm. And they use these special cameras that see way more than our eyes can. For example, an NDVI camera, which stands for Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, is basically a plant health scanner. It measures reflected light to instantly show a farmer which parts of the field are healthy and which parts are stressed.
So, if remote sensing gives the farm its eyes, then the Internet of Things, or IoT, gives it a nervous system. We're talking about a whole network of sensors right there in the field, constantly taking the pulse of the farm. They measure soil moisture, nutrient levels, temperature, humidity, everything, and they send that data back in real time.
Okay, so now you've got all this data just pouring in, from the GPS, the drones, the satellites, the sensors. What do you do with it all? That is where the brain of the operation comes in, artificial intelligence. Powerful machine learning algorithms just chew through these massive data sets, find patterns we could never see, predict things like crop yield, and then recommend specific actions for the farmer to take.
So how does this all actually come together in the field? I mean, these tools don't just work by themselves. They're all part of this powerful, continuous loop that's constantly fine-tuning and optimizing the farm. It really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you collect the data, using that whole toolkit we just talked about. Second, you analyze it. All that data gets beamed up to the cloud where AI platforms crunch the numbers and turn it into something useful, like a prescription map for fertilizer. And third, you act on it. That map gets sent right to a smart GPS-guided tractor, which then applies exactly the right amount of fertilizer to each little zone in the field. No more, no less. This diagram here just lays out the whole system perfectly. You can see the flow, right? Data goes from the field, the soil, the plants, the weather, up to the cloud. The AI processes it and then sends precise instructions back down to the smart machines. It's like a constant, intelligent conversation between the field and the technology. So what's the actual real-world impact of all this tech? This isn't just theory. The results are real, they're measurable, and honestly, they're really impressive. Let's just start with the bottom line. Study after study shows that farmers who get on board with this tech see a double benefit. They cut their costs for things like fuel, fertilizer, and seeds by up to 20%. And at the same time, they're increasing their crop yields by as much as 15%. I mean, that's a direct shot in the arm for their profitability. And when you look at the savings on resources, the numbers are even more wild. Because you're only putting things exactly where they're needed, the waste reduction is huge. Precision irrigation, it can cut water use in half. Variable rate fertilizing can drop usage by 30%. And get this, targeted spraying for pests can slash pesticide use by an incredible 80%. And this isn't just for 1 or 2 specific crops either. This table shows that the benefits are happening across the board. Look at vegetables. Yields are up 20 to 30%, with water savings up to 50%. For huge staple crops like maize and rice, the gains are consistently in the double digits. This approach just works. And because it works so well, people are jumping on board. The market for this technology was already over $10 billion in 2024. By 2034, it's expected to almost triple to over $30 billion. So yeah, this isn't some tiny niche thing anymore. It's quickly becoming the new normal. And this is so important. The benefits go way beyond just the farm's finances. Using fertilizer more efficiently can cut nitrous oxide emissions, which is a really potent greenhouse gas, by up to 40%. Using fewer chemicals means less of that stuff running off into our rivers and streams. And being smarter about pest control helps protect the good bugs, like bees, which are absolutely vital for our ecosystems. So the benefits are pretty clear, but this revolution is not over, not by a long shot. In fact, it's really just getting started. Let's take a look at the challenges that are still out there and the next wave of crazy new tech that's already on its way. Now we have to be real about the challenges. The upfront cost for this equipment can be really high, and that's a big hurdle for smaller farms. There's also a skills gap. Farmers now need to be data analysts on top of everything else they do. And finally, just managing all that data and getting reliable internet in rural areas are still big problems to solve. But the innovation just doesn't stop. This timeline gives you a little peek at what's coming. We're already seeing AI crop advisors pop up everywhere. Next up, blockchain for food traceability. Soon, you'll be able to scan a code on your food and see its entire life story, right back to the exact spot in the field it came from. By the end of this decade, fully autonomous tractors working 24/7 will be common. And if we look even further out, we might see things like quantum sensors, giving us a level of detail about plant health that we can barely even imagine right now. When you boil it all down, what we're witnessing is a complete redefinition of what it even means to be a farmer. The job is shifting from one based on tradition and gut feeling to one driven by data and technology. This blend of the old and the new is really our best shot at feeding our future. And it leaves us with one heck of a question. As the land itself becomes intelligent, what will it truly mean to be a farmer in the world of tomorrow?